And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
What up, brother?
Hey, listen, good morning, everybody. It's 7:15 for me in the west coast of California, enjoying the sunny weather, and of course in New York, 7:15. This podcast again, we hit the mark, bro. We've been talking about this for a long time. The leadership of the NYPD, just complete cowards. It's egos over everything. They're protecting their egos, and they've been, first their attempt was to try to bully this podcast, try to suppress our First Amendment speech, and really try to shut this podcast down. Unsuccessful. A win for New York's Finest, trying to fill the podcast. And secondly, they started bullying journalists. And what do we say, John? What do we say? We said if they're capable of attacking two retired lieutenants, and if they're capable of bullying journalists online, social media, how far are they willing to go? Hey, good morning, Ron Layson. We appreciate it. Always great supporter. Thank you so much. But how far are they willing to go? And sure enough, an article in the Daily News came out. But who brought the case first was Sal Greco. Sal, what's up, brother? I know you watch this. But NYPD Kaz Daughtry physically threatened a Daily News reporter. So, John, let's jump right into it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm like kind of at a loss for words of what's going on. So myself and Eric did a podcast yesterday where we talked about a news article about the police commissioner with his trip to Qatar. Part of that podcast, we also spoke about Sal Greco reporting that Kaz Daughtry got in the face of Rocco Parascandola, the police bureau chief for the Daily News, right? Long-standing member of the New York Press. And, and we spoke a little bit about that and how we think that that's unhinged and, something should happen and things of that nature. And we also discussed rumors that Ed Caban might step down. And it appears from everything we're told that he's going to. So John Chell last night, late, sends out a cryptic tweet directed at it could only be the podcast and Sal Greco and all these, just really us three. And it's insane. None of it makes sense. I'm going to pull up the tweet. Eric, do you think that the tweet is related to the podcast? What do you think?
Oh, most certainly. Now, viewers that are live with us and our supporters out there, they've been watching. They know exactly that John Chell and Kaz Daughtry have conversations with this podcast through subliminal messages. I've been saying it for the longest time. Just reach out and just say John and Eric. Just say New York's Finest Retired Unfiltered Podcast. Clearly, these conversations are directed to this podcast, including Kaz Daughtry's speech that we sometimes play at the end of the podcast, directed towards this podcast. We even invited them on this podcast to actually have a conversation. These childlike conversations are extremely embarrassing, and again, just solidifies everything we've been saying about egos over everything. Let's actually have a conversation together in public, like men, like gentlemen. Let's have a real conversation. But they're not willing to. They can't handle it because they're acting like children. And clearly they're unprofessional. They're unwilling to, and they do not belong in these positions. It's everything that we said, and we validated it. And they sure validate in this podcast. They were credible and we're accurate.
Why is Cynthia Nixon up on my screen? Sorry, X is messing with me today. But yeah, so let me get back to his tweet. I don't know why his tweet isn't pulling up. Oh, I see. I got this. I'm going to get this together, people. Sorry. We had to jump on quick and I wasn't really prepared to do this. We just had a great interview with the retired 38-year, actually fired 38-year, an actual chief, Tom LaPola. Definitely check out that interview. Definitely get out there. Let's end the insanity in the politics in New York. So here's John Chell's tweet. Desperation. This comes out at 8:40 p.m. last night on August 5th. Desperation equals state of despair, typically one which results in rash or extreme behavior. To whom it may concern, you have not figured it out yet? Question mark. Obviously not. Keep striving for the clicks, clout, views, but the grind continues. The daily hard work and focus by our cops while keeping our city safe won't be minimized by the desperate, unprofessional few with hurt feelings. We will consider the source of the few who want our city to fail, but won't stop working for the 99% who want our city to succeed. Overall crime down, shooting violence down, murder down, 23K illegal ghost cars, mopeds confiscated, up, 25% smoke shops padlocked. Facts. Keep working hard, everyone. Stay focused and tune out the noise. Oh yeah, one more item. Don't think anyone is headed over to 233 Broadway anytime soon. He hashtags fake news. He hashtags Kaz Daughtry, the chief of department, the first deputy commissioner, the police commissioner, NYPD News, Nieves, who's also on their press team. And then he actually goes into at the unions who are holding his water, who honestly aren't unions. They're endowment associations, and they should literally be standing against this insanity of them getting caught doing terrible things, acting like children, acting like fools, and then again hiding behind the hard work of the men and women in the New York City Police Department. It's absolutely disgusting.
More misinformation. Ex-Fed comment here. Lies, crime is not down. Absolutely, crime is not down. More gaslighting to the public. But what's great and revealing about this tweet is how childlike they are, immature, inadequate, and it's egos over everything. Clearly, listen to this podcast because I said if I was the police commissioner or John was the police commissioner, they would be out on their ass immediately. I would remove them, and I still stand by that. We will not back down from these tyrants, these bullies. Absolutely not. Go bully somebody else. You could try it on journalism. It's not going to work on this podcast. We are not going to back down from this misinformation. And honestly, it's so childlike. 233 Broadway, if anybody wants to know, if you don't know, anybody watches who's a civilian, or if you're law enforcement outside New York City, 233 Broadway is the Woolworth building where the pension system is located, and that's where you go to retire. Well, if you're actually going to retire in person, I did mine by the way, John Chell, you don't need to go to 233 Broadway because I did mine by phone. So listen, I put out a response to this, John. I said, who are you threatening by saying that you're going to 233 Broadway? Frankly, we don't care. If you want to retire or you want to stay on, we don't care. And actually, it's quite the opposite. This is misinformation because we care about New York City, but we care about the rank and file. We care about the public. We talk about real relationship between community and cops. We've had people on this podcast that were in opposition of cops, and we've actually mended the community. We've had a great conversation with Cop Watch, real conversations. This is childlike. This is not stoic. It's not professional. It's embarrassing. I every time that they go on with these rants and these unprofessional messages, having pissing matches with the public, which includes us through cryptic messages, it's embarrassing. It just really shows how egotistical they are. And what it also shows is, and what I've read in numerous books about the art of war and things like that, is that weak men are dangerous, and these men are dangerous. And it really honestly bears the question, because John and I were attacked by All Cops Are Woke, which is a fake moniker, threaten the lives of our families and our children. But now I've been saying it for a long time, and shame on you, Internal Affairs, for not releasing who was behind All Cops Are Woke, because now it makes me believe that John Chell and Kaz Daughtry are also behind All Cops Are Woke, because they sure do like to threaten the public with violence and their verbiage. So honestly, these questions need to be answered. Internal Affairs is not doing their job. They're leaving us in the dark, and clearly they don't care about the public. Unfortunately, because it's not an independent outsourced watchdog, it's protected by the cronies of the New York City Police Department.
So just to clear up some facts that John Chell, when he wants to talk about fake news, this is a tweet from Sam Antar. He runs whitecollarfraud.com. Look him up. Here are the facts. NYPD Chief of Patrol, why are you so unhinged this evening? Is it because your sanctimonious a-holes got caught with their pants down lying about crime numbers? Question mark. Here are the facts. Violent major felonies, 2024 versus 2023, up 4.5%. Violent major felonies, 2024 versus 2021, up 33% during Eric Adams' tenure as mayor. Violent major felonies, 2024 versus 2019, up 32.3% since the year before the pandemic, bail reform, and discovery reform. So clearly, the people that are sitting here talking about clicks, likes, fake news are the ones that are peddling the fake news, you know? And I said to John Chell last night, I said, because and again, I don't know why myself, Eric, or Sal are even being attacked at all. We're reporting and giving our opinion about news that's coming out, right? Sal Greco didn't get in a reporter's face. Kaz Daughtry did. I didn't get in a reporter's face. Kaz Daughtry did. Either did Eric. We talked about it. We didn't come up with the rumor that Ed Caban's leaving. He's telling people he's leaving. And so that's what we're getting. We're getting from numerous sources for a long time now, and it's getting hot and heavy now that he's leaving. We didn't pull that out of our ass, you know. And so I wrote to him. I said, fake news is what you guys push out daily. Cops with social media teams and photographers accusing others of striving for clicks, clouts, and views gave me a good laugh. The self-proclaimed dream team, who oversaw the largest exodus of cops and residents, continue to avoid well-earned criticism by hiding behind the work of the rank and file. You both appear desperate and thin-skinned, as you can't handle jokes or criticism. Desperation equals state of despair, typically one which results in rash or extreme behavior, like drunk tweeting from an official NYPD account. Grow up.
Hey, shout out to Crazy 10-7. Made some good comments over here and also donated $9.99 to the podcast. Thank you so much. Crazy 10-7 said it doesn't take a detective specialist to understand that Chell is all cops are woke. You know what? There's every reason to believe that he is behind it. We don't have the proof yet. Unfortunately, Internal Affairs has had this investigation for several months, have left us in the dark. Clearly, they're trying to keep this investigation as open as long as possible and not provide us any information. Again, it's customary that normally, if it wasn't two retired lieutenants, if it was any civilians, the identity of all cops are woke that threaten the families and threaten our children would be released. But that information has not been released, which is indicative that John Chell and Kaz Daughtry may have something to do with all cops are woke. I mean, I did suspect, and so did John, that all cops are woke is a handle utilized by more than one person, because by different information, different messages that were received, the characteristics and the traits and the conversation did change. And you can see personalities by these things. Again, that's a great response, John, that you put in regards to that cryptic tweet. I put a response also, basically talking about their childlike behavior. You know, do you have my tweet? If you can put it up, because I like to talk about 233 Broadway. And the whole point is they're threatening that they're going. You know, they're saying, "Oh, you know, we're not going to 233 Broadway." I mean, they can't make up their mind. The other day they said they're going to end up doing a podcast. I mean, everything is directed towards this podcast. Subliminal messages argue with this podcast, saying that they're not going to 233 Broadway. I don't know who you're threatening. Yeah, John, if you could read it, because I can barely see it.
Getting old, bro. Is my mic on? Yeah, okay. You're getting old, bro. All right, so Eric tweeted, who are you threatening that you won't go to 233 Broadway anytime soon? No one wants you to fail. We want you to do better. I personally don't want you to do better, John. I think that you guys really should, at this point, should go to 233 Broadway. I don't want the city to fail, though. I don't. And I would like to see Eric Adams step down as well. Unfortunately, just like this post, you and your buddies continued childlike behavior. It's a shame you and your fellow cohorts are so triggered by criticism. It sure does expose the state of the city, as the quality of life is in your hands. Desperate people do desperate things. These posts are desperate. 100% they are. Are you seriously the chief of patrol? Are you capable of emotionally detaching from criticism and doing your job efficiently? I'm going to say right now, no. Please read your posts before you submit them. You are truly embarrassing the NYPD and the profession 100%. And by the way, we have no regrets going to 233 Broadway. Podcasting is a great path in retirement. I guess your future podcast is on hold. So sad. I was really looking forward to it. Take care, fella.
But honestly, I mean, it's just ridiculous that they're having these menial, useless conversations, having pissing matches. We have afforded the opportunity numerous times. We've invited them to the podcast to have a real conversation, and they're unwilling to. And so, you know, this is an opportunity where PBA president Pat Hendry should be screaming up in arms saying this is absolutely ridiculous. Now, at the same token, how can we expect professionalism? We support the rank and file, but how can we support professionalism? And this is their leadership. And we had a cop putting out a picture of himself with signs, it looked like gang signs of the 4-4 precinct, kind of crouched down by a Lamborghini, putting "we outside too." This is what they're getting from their leadership. How can we expect the police officers to actually have a good relation with CCRB? This is what they're seeing from their leadership. Leadership is so important. The rank and file is going to assimilate to their leadership, and this is what they see right now. Bullying tactics. How can we expect that the khaki pants will treat the public appropriately? I said, remember I was telling you, John, I said, if they're willing to try to smear us on social media, what are they going to do to people in the public? And we clearly saw a lieutenant up on someone's head. And this is what's going on right now. And this is what they're being led by tyrants, being led by bullies.
Yeah, again, and again, like we said they've done, and we've proved that they've done, and we've showed everybody and everything that police resources were misused to attack myself and Eric months ago, and absolutely nothing was done about it. You had cops coming at us following orders from these two unhinged, thin-skinned people because they're mad about myself and Eric giving our opinion. And then I guess they were mad that Sal tweeted about what happened in the press room, which was completely unprofessional, which completely shows exactly and proves exactly the things we've been saying on this podcast, that Kaz Daughtry isn't ready for the position he took. He's immature. He obviously cannot handle criticism, and he can't handle questions. And what I heard, and I don't know how true this is, I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room. But what I heard happened is Rocco Parascandola asked a question in regards to an article that came out about the misuse of NYPD vehicles, or potential misuse, because, again, we know that police vehicles are going to have to disobey traffic laws, right, when they're responding to emergencies. But Rocco Parascandola asked the questions about the executives responding to emergencies, and that is what instigated. Well, I don't even want to say instigated, because he was just asking a question. He's doing his job. He's a reporter, right? Reporters are going to ask questions. They're going to ask you some annoying questions. They're going to ask you some questions you probably don't want to answer. What that has to do with myself, Eric, and Sal, I really don't know why we're involved in this and what the cryptic drunk tweet last night was about, but from an official NYPD account. But that's what sparked this whole thing. And now it just comes out. It just comes out now. Let me take this down. This was that was a meme that was put out last night. Pretty funny, but it just comes out from the Daily News. The Daily News Union is now going to bat for their employees, as they should. So for the LBA, the SBA, the PBA, the CEA, this is what you should do for your employees when they're being physically threatened. This is what you should do when they're constantly under threat of discrimination, of not being promoted, of all of these work ethic violations that when you see the upper echelon puts rules and regulations on but they don't follow them themselves. This is what you guys should be doing as well. So NYPD, I know you're not going to be able to read this, Eric. I'll read this real quick, and then let's get your thoughts. So this is from the Daily News Union. An open letter to NYPD Commissioner Ed Caban and Deputy Commissioners Kaz Daughtry and Tariq Shepard. To Police Commissioner Caban, Mr. Daughtry, Mr. Shepard, we, the members of the Daily News Union, are writing to demand an apology from the Deputy Commissioner of Operation, Kaz Daughtry, for trying to publicly intimidate the News Police Bureau Chief Thursday, August 1st, 2024, in full view of reporters from multiple outlets, as well as dozens of other NYPD officers. The incident, described by multiple people as Deputy Commissioner Daughtry getting into our bureau chief's face and twice having to be physically removed by other officers, demonstrates a fundamental lack of respect for working reporters and a brazen contempt for decorum. We trust that in addition to making a public apology, the NYPD will ensure that Deputy Commissioner Daughtry's conduct is formally reviewed and take steps to ensure no such incidents happen again. Respectfully, the members of the Daily News Union, a shop under News Guild Local 31003 CWA. Eric, what do you think about that?
Yesterday, I had mentioned, I said, you know what, if this is true, because at the point we only knew that it was a rumor. Sal Greco had, great job. He put the information out. But at that point, we didn't have anything to validate or solidify it at this point to really make sure that it's concrete. And I said, if this is true, Rocco Pascagola should make a civilian complaint. But then Ron Layson, one of our supporters, made a comment. And he actually made a great point. He said, this would actually have to be investigated by Internal Affairs because Kaz Daughtry is a civilian member of the police department. So it's quite interesting. And I'm sure Kaz Daughtry is aware of that. The same Internal Affairs that is leaving us in the dark for our case because they're protecting their own, who no longer can be trusted, would do the same investigation when it comes if Roscoe Pascagola makes a complaint. Well, he doesn't even have to make a complaint. The Internal Affairs Bureau at this point, because they have an allegation and they scrub social media, should actually be investigating it at this point. Am I not correct, John? Because you did work as a liaison with the Internal Affairs Bureau. Should the Internal Affairs Bureau at this point be investigating this case without Roscoe Pascagola making a formal complaint personally?
So I'm going to say right now that if the Internal Affairs Bureau actually worked to uphold the integrity of the New York City Police Department, then yes, 100% Group 1, who's led by the commanding officer, whose name I can't remember right at this moment in time, but whatever his name is, doesn't matter. He should have opened up an investigation because, as you know, Eric, as you know, as a member of service, as a former member of service, retired member, when you become aware of an allegation of misconduct or corruption, you are required to report it, right? So obviously 100% an investigation should have sparked immediately upon any allegation being made anywhere in the news media, online, or anything of that nature. Instead of what happened, though, is we had the NYPD chief of patrol, who's in charge of the largest uniformed force in the country, active. We had him sending out cryptic tweets, mad at myself, you, and Sal for giving our opinion on things that they're doing, which is completely unhinged. So yes, I think that you're 100% right. The NYPD Internal Affairs Bureau should be doing that. But like we've seen from the allegation that we made, I don't believe that the Internal Affairs Bureau at this point has the ability to properly investigate and hold accountable anyone who's politically appointed or anybody who has high-level political connections. I never thought I would be here, but I am, and I'm under the thing that the police are really, when it comes to high-level political connections, the police cannot police themselves. Yeah, will the boots on the ground get held accountable? Yeah, as long as you're not friends with the mayor, as long as you're not driving a big chief, because when it comes to that, there's a lot of shady things going on. So I'm saying at this point, I think there needs to be a full independent investigation of this entire apparatus, because like you said, they've been attempting to bully us, and and you know what, Eric, they have been bullying us. And you know what? Yeah, maybe we continue to do the podcast, but we have active members of the service afraid to talk to us, our own friends. They're not talking to us about anything. They're not giving us any confidential information. We have people afraid to talk to us. We have people afraid to interact with us. We have people afraid to watch a podcast or sign up or like and subscribe. So they've been bullying us, and it is alarming. I mean, come on. Were you not alarmed last night when you're getting, hey, they're talking about you guys? And like, what's the concern with us? Why don't you just not attack reporters at press conferences? Why don't you just do your job? Why don't you just respond to the criticism or don't respond to it? I didn't give Tariq Shepard. I didn't put the newspaper. I didn't know anything about Tariq Shepard's wife getting a $180,000 job in secret. I didn't know about that. I didn't put that out. You didn't put that out. Sal didn't put that out. It came out in the news. We gave an opinion on it. What are you mad at us for?
Well, that's why the more that things like this happen. I mean, we said we saw the buildup getting to this point. We said a long time ago, like, what else is this administration capable of? They're bullying people. Absolutely, they did bully this tactic, bully this podcast. I agree with you 100%. And clearly, it solidifies and validates that all cops are woke. Clearly, is a danger to the public, danger to himself, and a danger to this podcast because we still do not know the actual identity of all cops are woke because Internal Affairs refuses to provide that information. So the question is Internal Affairs, because we know that you watch this also, and also the person that's in charge of this investigation, is who is all cops are woke? And now the question also is John Chell and Kaz Daughtry behind all cops are woke? Do they have a hand in this also? Do they have anything to do with all cops are woke? Because it really correlates to the information, the threats that we had. I mean, they're willing to have these subliminal messages, and these are threats. Make no mistake about it, John. These cryptic messages, they are threats to us also. About fake news and misinformation, and you're trying to get, we're not going to go to 233 Broadway. It's completely bullying tactics. But again, what is Internal Affairs response going to be? No longer can the police department be trusted at the highest level when it comes to the upper echelon. It really is like a two-tiered system when it comes to the upper echelon, and also the lower half, the rank and file of the police department, they're held to a different standard. Because typically in a case like this, we would hear from the mayor to say that this law enforcement professional would be suspended immediately. And I'm not saying officer because he's a civilian. This law enforcement professional would be suspended immediately pending investigation. Where is Mayor Eric Adams to speak out publicly in regards to this issue? Mayor Eric Adams is supposed to be transparent with the media, with the public, and especially what's going on with his police department. And if there's not a public response to this, clearly we can indicate how this is going to play out. And I think we should not expect an apology from Kaz Daughtry. We've already seen the track record that Mayor Eric Adams, along with his upper echelon of the police department, does not apologize for bullying tactics. And actually, they evade from it because John Chell refused to come to the city council hearing to speak on it. We understand he was told not to go, but he could have went anyway. He is the chief of patrol. He has the power to do that. Nobody would actually tell him not to be there. And they refused to do that and actually speak out. So I don't think that we should expect an apology, and we won't see one. So what do you think Mayor Eric Adams will do in response, John?
Well, one, Eric Adams, he is behind all of this. I mean, he knows full well about the attacks against this podcast. He actually, in my opinion, he put him up to it. I mean, go on my Twitter, go on your Twitter, go on Sal's Twitter. Who's following us? I mean, it's all the Eric Adams people. I'm not following them. I'm like, why are they following us? And then again, we've had attacks from the various underworld figures in New York City, right? Because we give our opinion. I have people sending me messages that I better up my life insurance, things of that nature, and then completely back off when I want to meet them. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So I want to come buy the higher end life insurance from you. Where are you? I'll come to your office. Let's go. And, and that's coming fully from them. And that is my opinion, and I'll never back off of it. That is what it is, because clearly you could see how unhinged, how immature, and how egotistical this whole administration is. So when we talk about the upper echelon of the NYPD, I mean, I'm putting Eric Adams in that group. I'm not he's the leader, like he said 1,000 times. The commissioners run their agencies. I run the commissioners. So this is who he is. It's a bully tactic. And again, for the last 6 months, we've been nothing but criticized and attacked for exercising our First Amendment rights. We've been nothing but trying to be intimidated. And I think that it's scarier to think how much how quickly it's not only not stopped, it's gotten worse. I mean, and 100%, Eric, we talked about it when this all started happening, like, because the news wasn't reporting on what was happening at all. They didn't want to report it. They're all watching it. They're all watching what's happening. They're all laughing. They're all saying, "Oh, this is crazy. This is wild." We had a couple of articles go out, but none really that told exactly what happened. And now you're to the point where you're in a press conference and you can't ask the police department a question under fear you might be physically assaulted. And if they're willing to actually break the law and physically assault you, what makes you think they wouldn't be willing to break the law and arrest you for something you didn't do? What makes you think that they wouldn't break the law and put up investigations and misuse police resources to let you show you exactly who they are? I don't have that faith.
Clearly, we have irresponsible, immature, inadequate leadership of the police department, and they're cowards, they're weak, and they're protecting their egos over everything, which makes them dangerous. And I remember, John, when you and I were talking about this, when this started happening with this whole smear campaign, I said, how far do you think this could go? I said, do you really think these guys are capable of it? I mean, I still had this sanctity, this ideology that, hey, listen, we were the best era of the police department. These guys wouldn't go that far. I mean, at some point they would have to wake up and say, well, what am I doing? But the more that we see their behavior, we can actually just assume that they're just completely unhinged and overwhelmed with this amount of power that they have. And it's just a complete abuse, and they're getting comfortable. Just like Michael Dowd would say, right? The most corrupt cop in the NYPD. He said in his hearing, which I watched many times, when he spoke about his crimes, he said he eventually got so comfortable with it, and he constantly got away with it. He said he always felt like he was winning. It was like, and so he just thought, wow, I'll just never get caught because he was always winning. And I think that's what's kind of happening with this administration. They're just getting comfortable with bullying, and it's getting more egregious because they just keep getting away with, like, okay, at some point, I guess nothing's going to happen. We just keep winning. I could bully this one, I could bully that one, and their egos really shine for them. And exemplify, and it's bringing out the worst characteristics and the worst traits of these particular uniformed and civilian members in power. I think there's a great comment here also by Ron Lace, and I just want to read it real quick. If not suspended for this confrontation, at least modified. Guns removed while investigation is conducted. However, you can't modify a civilian member. So it's quite interesting. We talk about it all the time. Kaz Daughtry, great comment, Ron Lason. Kaz Daughtry is a civilian member of the service with extreme amount of power, yet he's operating as a uniformed member with a firearm. So this really leaves a lot of questions about liability. We talk about if there's a potential lawsuit. If Roscoe Pascandola decides to sue the police department or on behalf of the Daily News Union, how are they going to explain this? Because he is in a civilian role. How does the police department hold their members accountable when he is in a civilian role, when they can't modify it? So they have to suspend him. And what I'm also curious about is the Daily News. If Kaz Daughtry does not come out publicly with an apology, what will be their next move? What is their next move? How will they hold Kaz Daughtry and the police department, along with Mayor Eric Adams, responsible and accountable for attacking media and to make sure that this doesn't happen and go any further? Because clearly, I do think at some point, I think they are dangerous, and I do think that they are a threat to the media and the public, and I do think that physically they are a threat because they're so concerned protecting their egos. I'm not sure what these guys are capable of. Clearly, the way they're acting is so unhinged, and at this point, I don't think anything is off the table.
No, again, like I said, I'm in New York. I don't drink. I don't use drugs. But I have to sit there and camera up every car that I'm in, and out of fear of being retaliated against for giving my opinion, my honest opinion too. It's not anything out of, I don't remember the words that Chell was using, but saying that we were unhinged, desperate, I mean, I don't think anything. I'm not desperate, bro. We're having a good time. Eric's laughing. I'm laughing. Sal's laughing. We actually live very nice lives. We're just openly having discussions about topics that we always spoke about, and we will continue to do that. So, but because we do that, we're sitting here in fear of retaliation and in constant fear of retaliation, right? Because it's constant, because it's there and everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. Now, and it's funny to me that they hide consistently behind the rank and file. Because at the same time they hide behind them, the reality is the overwhelming majority of the rank and file support myself and Eric. When I walk in New York City, I'm getting high fives. I'm getting people saying, oh, I love you guys. You guys are great. Thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for speaking for us. Because the majority of stuff we do has nothing to do with the upper echelon of the NYPD. They just feel completely inadequate. And for some reason, we've become the target of that inept, inadequate stance that they've taken. They feel it themselves. So I really think at this point that conscience is getting the better of them. And I'm like, I gotta be honest. I'm concerned. I really am. I'm concerned that people that are in charge of have powers like this, are they really fit to be in charge? And what you tweeted, Eric, is really true. Can you really operate under stress? I'm saying right now they can't. I'm saying right now there are serious issues that were being shown, and as we speak, I'm getting threats of being sued by people in the media. As we speak right now, I'm receiving threats for a picture of Kaz Daughtry that I posted on my social media. As we sit here and speak right now, I'm getting threats that I'm going to be sued. I committed a copyright infringement, all of this. And this is not coming from the free press. This is coming from someone who's supposedly an independent reporter. So, it's so many different things. We've been attacked by the CRT. We've had our children threatened by a uniformed member of service while they were at work, while they're at New York City. The Internal Affairs Bureau will not only not investigate it criminally, they won't even tell us who it is. They won't even generate a complaint report for us that we were harassed. I mean, and it's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me where we're going in this country, that you have to align with everything you're being told. You can't ask a question, because if you do, we're going to come after you. And if you give your opinion, we're going to come after you. I'm saying right now, 100% I don't want New York City to fail. I love New York. My whole family's there. My friends are there. People I love are there. Same goes for the NYPD. And I know the same for you, Eric. I know we're sitting here trying to make things better. But at this point, I'm going to say right now, this is the most corrupt administration that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And that is stemming from the top down, from New York City Mayor Eric Adams' office, all the way to the entire upper executive staff of the NYPD. And I say that they should immediately, I don't even think you guys should go down to 233 Broadway. I think you guys should be in federal court. Forget you getting your pension. I think that you guys should be walk. I think you guys should be getting purple walked out of 1PP at this point, because this is getting insane.
Well, let's be honest. Kaz Daughtry committed a crime in front of uniformed police officers as he physically threatened Roscoe Pascagoula, and he has not been held accountable. And that's why these things don't happen overnight. We see the progression, and these things happen slowly. Kaz Daughtry addressed this podcast and other retired members and other people speaking out, but particularly this podcast at his gala, speaking out in opposition. There's a smear campaign, little tweets, subliminal messages. He's now physically threatened Roscoe Pascagoula. They've had other interactions, pissing matches with journalists. I mean, what's next? Can we feel confident? And this may sound egregious, but can we feel confident that one day they may be so unhinged and so emotionally invested that they can't handle it, that they'll take their firearm out and hurt some and cause the death of another because they can't handle it? I mean, we know they can't handle stressful situations. Chell in his career accidentally discharged his firearm and killed someone while he was doing his job in a stressful situation. And I don't think we should cut anyone slack for that. You are supposed to be the professional. I was in numerous gun apprehensions fighting with perpetrators, and I did not deploy my firearm and shoot someone accidentally. We have to be accountable for our actions, even if it's accidental. I don't think they're capable of handling stressful situations, and they show it. They should be the most stoic, and they should actually bring everything to a quell. They should be the voice of reason as things get more chaotic. They should be the ones to bring everything to a calm. How should we expect the rank and file to be professional and to handle the public under dire and stressful situations when clearly the leadership can't even handle their egos being attacked by questions? And the reason why I say ego is being attacked, because that's their perception of it. Perception is reality. Their perception of questions is attacking their ego. That's how they take it, and that's how it's being perceived, and that's how their response is happening to it. Now, I also said you should do better in my tweet. And the reason why I say that, we want you to do better, because we have no choice. These are the people appointed that are in position right now. Clearly, Eric Adams is not removing them or putting anyone else in their place. So we have to, these are the cards that were dealt with. And I want New York City to do better. I could care less about John Chell and Kaz Daughtry in their careers. They're complete bullies. I think they have no business being a police department. They should be in handcuffs. But yet the only ones they want in handcuffs is myself and you, John. And if that's what it takes, if we have to continue doing this podcast, being the squeaky wheel that gets the oil, and if we get flaked and we end up in handcuffs, I don't care. I'll still be smiling. Get the fuck out of here, because we are not backing down one bit from John Chell, you coward. Kaz Daughtry, you coward, you timid, meek men that have no spine to go after some reporter because he asked you a question. Who else you going to go after because they attacked your ego? And it's unfortunate that the men and women have to learn from you. Irresponsible you do not deserve. They don't even realize how blessed they are to be in this position, that they have a power to do good, but instead their power has been misused. And this is why it's scary when we have cowards and meek, timid, dangerous individuals with power, because it could be misused and used against you. Make no mistake about it. If you go out there and make an opinion, they will come after you. And that's not okay. Again, what John said is absolutely right. We have friends that are terrified to speak to us, terrified they'll speak to us encrypted in codes, and terrified if they speak to us about anything, even their complaints or gripes. Please don't say it on the podcast. Don't say where it came from. People are terrified. They should not be terrified of giving their opinion. Absolutely not. And we are not going to be back down. I have a tattoo on my rib that says death before dishonor, and I am not going to die by staying silent. We are going to speak up. We're not afraid of Kaz Daughtry and John Chell. Let them go fight with themselves. But you know what? The public needs to stand up to this weak police department. We need a better police department. We need a good New York City.
So this is a tweet that comes out from Katie Honan. She's a reporter in the NYPD. She's often in the mayor's press room. I am definitely going to watch Eric Adams' Off Topic Tuesday. I believe this falls in line. And what I think you're going to see, and they're probably doing it as we speak, but we were on this podcast all morning, so we didn't get a chance to look at it. But I'm going to be pretty certain that what you're going to see is they're going to talk for a very long time before they actually open the floor up to reporters, so that the hour's almost wasted and they can only take a few questions. Most of them they won't answer anyway, and they're going to run out of the room because they're not open and transparent. So Katie Honan's probably there right now, as well as Rocco Parascandola and all of the reporters that are in the press room. So what she tweeted is, top NYPD officials behave like children and try to intimidate members of the press for doing their job. When they're not having meltdowns on X, they're getting in reporters' faces. And I mean, is she wrong? I agree with her 100%. That's exactly what's happening. They're acting like children because I don't think that they're properly suited for the positions they've been placed in. I don't think that they were the best of the NYPD. I just don't. That's my opinion. Sorry. I'll tell you to your face that, John and Kaz, I don't think that you were properly suited for those positions. And you still, even with that, people that aren't properly suited have the ability to succeed in positions. I've seen that time and time again in my life where people that maybe weren't qualified for something were actually awesome at it. But that's not the case with you. Not only were you guys not qualified for it, you're absolutely horrible at it. And every day that goes by, you prove it more and more. And hinged, complete, cryptic tweets against myself, Eric, and Sal need to stop. It really needs to stop. The going after reporters. Focus on your job. Focus on public safety. You consistently talk about blocking out the noise, yet it's the only thing on both your minds, right? And it has nothing. And for the life of me, if you sit there and think I'm thinking about you when I put my head on the pillow at night, I don't. Either does Eric. Either does Sal. You know, I mean, so it's not becoming of a man. It's not becoming of people that are actually happy in their life, that are confident in the work they do. And then again, you continue to hide behind the rank and file, who, by the way, can't wait till this administration's gone. Because again, like I said earlier in my tweet, and I said last night to you, you have oversaw the most amount of NYPD cops that have retired early, retired before they wanted to, vested out, and actually said, I'm not doing this job and leaving. The most amount in NYPD history. And if you guys were doing your job properly, if you guys really cared, if you guys even cared this much and you weren't the ones having social media teams and photographers following you around and clicking around for likes, if you guys weren't doing that and you actually focused on making New York City a better place and worried about the people that you work to lead, that wouldn't be the case, but it is.
You know, there's a great comment here. I'm trying to find it from Rob. There we go. He said, gents, do any of the unions communicate with you? PBA ? SBA ? That is a fantastic question, Rob. Absolutely. They should communicate with us because we are a force from outside the police department in retirement that has the capability to speak out for the men and women. We've been doing it because clearly unions lack on that, but they don't see us as an opportunity to have an alliance, which they should, because we are helping the men and women, the rank and file. Unfortunately, they saw us as opposition and fought tooth and nail with this podcast. I think there's an opportunity to repair that and work together. We should work together to move forward to help the rank and file. But unfortunately, it's egos over everything. They also have to, worry about their own self-serving benefits. I think it's a complete mistake on the unions. Pat Hendry, the president of the PBA, was invited on this podcast, and he did not acknowledge us. Never did we receive any acknowledgement. And what better platform for him to come on when law enforcement, New York City, is really behind this podcast, and we're getting a network throughout this entire country when it comes to law enforcement. Pat Hendry should come on this podcast. He should see the alliance in it, but we don't, and that's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, I would, Rob, I would think that the unions would actually, listen, I get you're not going to like people that are actually telling the truth, and it's very inconvenient. We're very inconvenient people, right? Marlon Bethel's an inconvenient individual, right? Black immigrant who immigrated here, who did absolutely nothing wrong, stand-up man in his community, seasoned detective for the NYPD, intel detective, who was fired and left for dead. And these men did absolutely nothing to help him, nor doing anything to help him get back. And that is not just the upper echelon of the NYPD, but it's also his union. You got a guy like Sal Greco, who was wrongfully terminated for being friends with Roger Stone because they don't like Donald Trump. And they associate Roger Stone with Donald Trump. So Sal Greco's support of Donald Trump got him fired. You got a guy like Eric Dim, who, although the progressive stronghold in New York City came down and the laws didn't make any sense, and the tactics being released by NYPD News didn't make any sense, who was facing termination for getting illegal firearms off of the most violent perpetrators on the street. You have another guy like myself, 18-year veteran, a wide array of experience and knowledge and thrown in the garbage again. For what? All for political reasons. And I'm just going to welcome in right now. We just got Sal Greco joining us. And Sal, welcome to the stage, my brother. Listen, we've been talking about this for a while now. We've been going on 50 minutes. I'd like to hear, and don't ramble, like we're going to go around, but give us what's going on, what you see, what's happening, and let's go around one more time. Or what the hell's going on in New York City news?
Sal, what's up, brother? Great job exposing this, man. I'm super proud of you. Super impressed. Thanks, bro. Glad to have you.
Listen, thanks for having me on. You know, I greatly appreciate the kudos. Actually caught flack from some of the cops that I used to know because they called me a fake news, kind of like John Chell did last night. Unfortunately, there's nothing fake or fugazi first about myself or anything that I say. When I say it, you can bet your bottom dollar it's true. What I'm seeing here is an absolute atrocity, okay? This individual, Kaz Daughtry, should have already been fired. I don't understand why he has not been terminated yet for these actions. But what he did in threatening this reporter, he also had told him that he's going to continue to do whatever he wants, drive through red lights. Remember, Kaz Daughtry is just a civilian. He's not a cop. He's a deputy commissioner. Remember why we've been exposing this clown, I think, for the last couple of months. He's not who he says he is. He's not a cop. He cannot drive a car with lights on. So the fact that he even was exposed for that was the reason he exploded. But no matter what you think of a reporter, especially since you're a police executive and a police official, you can't take your anger out on them. Sometimes they're going to write something that's good for you. Sometimes they're going to write something that might not be so good for you. But you don't take things out on civilians. But we've seen this before, John and Eric, right? Remember when all cops awoke, some clown on Instagram started attacking you both personally and then making threats, along with Jimmy Rodriguez, the manager, creator of Con Sofrito, which is shuttered now? That was the beginning of what you saw transpire the other day. First, they started threatening you. Then they threatened the media. Then they basically acted like a gangster. Now they said, you know what? I'm just going to not only threaten the reporter, I'm just going to grab him because he was physically restrained. This is outrageous behavior. Go ahead. You can play it. That's exclusive. That was on WABC over the weekend. Went on Roger's show. I said this on Sunday after the first post on Saturday that I revealed that there was this incident that happened. Here it is. The exclusive details right there.
Oh, I didn't know this was a click. I was trying to make it bigger. All right, you want me to play it? Let's
go ahead. Make everyone hear it.
Let's play it.
And by the way, when two cops got shot, Roger, there was a press conference at the hospital, and it was Kaz Daughtry, who I learned threatened the reporter Rocco Parascandolo from New York Daily News. By the way, this is breaking news. So he threatened him in front of Eric Adams, Tiny Kinsella, First Deputy Commissioner, Eddie Caban, Police Commissioner, and Chief of Department, Jeffrey Madry, his mentor. In front of them, he was threatening him and had to be physically restrained because Rocco Parascandolo wrote an article being critical of the use of an unmarked vehicle, which Kaz Daughtry was driving around the city with. It's either him or Eddie Caban. And by the way, Kaz Daughtry is a civilian. He's not a police officer. He cannot just turn the lights on. That's illegal. So he told him, keep your name out of your keep my name out of your mouth, and I'll drive around the city and do whatever I want. And he was physically restrained, Roger, by the cops. There's been no action. And by the way, when two cops got shot,
but that's all true, John.
So
that's not. So I guess it wasn't fake news then, like John Chell said.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. But you know what we can gather from this clearly, the upper echelon of the police department can no longer be trusted because everyone that you said was present there, Tanya Kinsella, anyone that was present there, Chief Madry, failed to report this to internal affairs. So we need the FBI to step in because no longer can the police department be trusted to investigate themselves under internal affairs, because clearly every one of them is a witness and must report corruption because they witnessed a crime in their faces. Now I want to know exactly, is the Daily News, is Rocco Pascadola going to sue Kaz Daughtry? Because this is what I've been, this is what I've been talking about, Sal. I've aroused this question numerous times. As a civilian operating in a uniform, as a uniform member, will he be indemnified? And look at that dais right there. Every one of them witnessed this. Everyone is responsible. And if they do not check him, and policing, we're supposed to police our own. If they don't, that means they're enabling it and encouraging it. John, what did you tell me, man? Cowardice is the worst thing in the Bible, right? Worse than the actual murderer. So if they allow it and they're cowards and they don't say nothing, they're worse than Kaz Daughtry for actually doing, participating and taking the action that he did.
It's 6 out. What were you thinking last night when we were on a space? We were with Cafecito Break on a space, just going around. I think we were having a good discussion. We were talking about various issues, stock market, tensions in the Middle East, everything. What were you thinking when you saw the tweet come out from John Chell?
Oh, my blood was boiling. You know why? I listen, for people out there that don't know, I personally worked with John Chell. He was my XO back in the 60th precinct, okay, when he first became a captain, all right? I know this guy's MO. Nice guy as far as what he does in the street, but he's a snake. This guy will, like, today he tells you, yeah, you're great, oh, blah, blah. And then behind your back, he's looking at A, transfer you, B, badmouth you, C, give you a dirty assignment or something you don't want, only because you don't align with whatever it is that he's thinking that day. He also, I believe, has a drinking problem. I know that he frequents Salty Dog, Kettle Black. He's very big on the Bay Ridge scene. John, I know what you're doing, John. Like, I know you. Stop acting like you don't know me. I've been in the car with you, John, and met your wife, okay? So this individual had a drunken rant, it seemed, where he, without referencing who it is, we know who he's attacking. He's attacking this show and myself, because the day priors, the couple of days prior, I number one unveiled that his boy Kaz Daughtry, who, by the way, is in multiple sexual lawsuits with John Chell and Jeffrey Madry. Okay, so they're all together with their schemery. But he decided to go on a drunken rant. I don't know if you could put this up. This is directed at us. It's clearly directed at us. In fact, he ends it with, whatever that means, 233 Broadway, fake news. What is he even talking about, John? That's why I was up in arms saying, why does this guy not be a man if he has a problem with you, all right? Why don't he just come out and say it instead of being at the bar at Salty Dog or Cattle Black and acting like he's got beer muscles? Because that's all he has. He's got a really big belly. He's not in the shape to challenge anybody if you want to get down to it. So I don't know what this guy's problem is. Him and Kaz Daughtry, well, Kaz Daughtry should be terminated today, but this man should be also putting his resignation in. He's unfit for the job. I'm sorry. This guy's a couple of screws loose in his head.
Well, Sal, clearly he's saying that I'm not going to retire, that I'm going to stay here in power. That's what he's saying. What Kaz Daughtry and John Chell have turned this into is that Roscoe Pascadola, whether you like his questions or not, it's not about answering them in anger, because it shouldn't be directed. You shouldn't feel that the questions are coming at you personally. They're coming as questions as you as a representative of the New York City Police Department. And that's where these guys miss the mark, and they show that they're immature children and they cannot emotionally detach, and they're not stoic at all. I mean, how do you feel about this, Sal? I mean, because look, you're wrongfully terminated, and yet Kaz Daughtry is getting away with everything. I mean, there's absolutely no standard. How does that make you feel that you're fighting tooth and nail to reinvent yourself, vindicate yourself, and be compensated? Yet Kaz Daughtry is completely misusing the power and still employed by the police department, yet he acts in a civilian capacity as a uniform member. How does that make you feel?
Well, I never try to make things personal, but personally, you look at that and you say to yourself, how did I end up in the position I am? And then you watch what basically everything the department and the media at that time portrayed in myself, saying I'm all these things that actually it's this administration that is exactly what they said at the time I was. He is clearly a corrupted individual. He's also on a power trip, Kaz Daughtry. The police department in itself, let's be honest, at the time when I was employed, I was what? One of the top guys, if not the top guy, as far as DWI arrests goes. I had over 330. I mean, these are just a few of the awards I have. I have over 50 medals. Okay. You look at my record, it was nothing there. Besides the fact that they didn't like that I'm friends with someone that is on the opposite side of their political spectrum as far as the way they align, there's nothing there. They didn't find any crimes. They actually violated the law, broke the law, actually accessed not only one person's sealed record, but Roger Stone's sealed records. I actually have the file. So all of this to do what? To prove what? Sal Greco must be terminated because he's a Trump supporter? Because that's basically what it was. It was the dumbest move they've ever made. And now, basically, they created what you see today with me. Because now I say, you know something? I'm going to stick up for the taxpayer. Because when I was working out there, I had a chance to get one, I could have been a detective. Two, I could have taken an administrative job and be like the rest of these guys doing nothing all day behind a computer screen with all their muscles. You know, they want to be trolls on your post or my post or whatever. I don't do that. I'm not part of a social media team. I was out there every day and I wanted to be out there. I love living in the street. It's almost like being a street cop was like, that's where it was at for me. That was where the action was. And I'm a guy that thrives on action. So did that serve the public and the New York City taxpayers taking away a guy that had 300 something arrests? Never, what I have, one lawsuit my whole career? How many CCRBs? I had zero. So how does that translate to we need to fire him because of who he's associated with, because we don't like him? And then you see this thug behavior, and every single one of these guys has a rap sheet that's long. Charges, CDs, lawsuits, you name it. And they're also on a list. Let's not forget that Kaz Daughtry made the naughty list, along with the police commissioner, Eddie Caban, who should be on another list for all his associations back with his brother's nightclub. So this is New York City today. And New York City taxpayers need to ask themselves one question. Is this the New York City that you want? Is this what you want out of your police department? Well, public safety is not the priority. It's very clear what the priority is. It's clout chasing, partying, and I'm Commissioner so-and-so, I'm this, I'm that. I'm going to basically use this office for personal use. The wife has a job over there. Tariq Shepard's wife has a job. Eric Adams, as chief of staff, doesn't report that she is on a board of a company that's in front of has a business in front of the city. It's like, no matter where you look, these guys are just like basically pimping out the office is the word I'm trying to use. This is a disgrace. And whether you like me or not, or whether you align with me politically or not, you have to admit that what I'm telling and what I'm saying makes sense, and that I actually do have the best interest of the public and the New York City taxpayer.
Yeah. So what John Chell was mad about is, I think, in my opinion, what I think he's mad about is his boss, Kaz Daughtry, was in line to be the next police commissioner. You know, it's not your fault, Sal, that you found out that he attempted to attack Rocco Parascandola. It's not your fault. You didn't attack Rocco Parascandola. You just let everybody know, right? So then what did we do? We all started talking about this is crazy. This is ridiculous. At the same time, a little bit earlier than that, I had put out a tweet that I consistently hearing rumors that Ed Caban is stepping down. So that's when he makes mention to the 233 Broadway. That's why he's talking about that. He's talking directly about those two things. And he can't stand the podcast for whatever reason. John, you're welcome on here. I know you're watching right now. Kaz, you're welcome on here. You come on here. We think the behavior is disgusting. We think that the person, the cop that threatened our children, should be held accountable. We think that we should be given apologies for all the things that happened to us. All the times our names were illegally ran in NYPD department computers for absolutely no reason other than you're thin-skinned and you got butthurt because you didn't like a meme or something around that. Sal, something you didn't know. I put out a post on Twitter And there's a picture there of Kaz Daughtry's knee holding down a perp. It's part of viral news. I got it from an anonymous source. Viral News New York is now telling me I better take it down, or he's going to sue me for copyright infringement. What do you think about that?
The bootlicker. This guy at one point was very friendly. He seemed to be like an independent reporter. Like he was actually a guy that stood in the middle. If a brief history of the guy was, he was an Antifa guy. I don't know if you noticed. He hung out with Antifa, Talia Jane. Now he doesn't like Talia Jane. Originally, he was arrested by the police department for growing cannabis. He had a legit cannabis business, and they basically went in there and took him in handcuffs and abused the guy. He sued them, and then he would always call and say, how should I approach this? What do you think? Because he had this lawsuit. Next thing you know, all I ever see is he's bootlicking for Kaz Daughtry, John Chell, and Jeffrey Madry. That lawsuit now, we don't know what's going on with that. And all you see on his page, it's he goes to the migrant shelters and then defends Eric Adams like he's God because God ordained him to be the mayor, apparently. And then it's Kaz Daughtry's doing a great job. John Shell's doing a great job. Everyone's doing a great job. Everybody. The only problem is they're not. The majority of New York City doesn't believe so. And after this incident, I think we can pretty much say Kaz Daughtry should not only not be on the job, he should be terminated. He should have been terminated a couple of days ago already. But this guy is why I call him a bootlicker. Then he blocks me on social media. Then he puts me back. And I can't be dealing with people like this. I don't know what's going on in his head. He could always reach out because I thought he was very good at what he did as a reporter. But he's become a bootlicker. He's a cheerleader for Kaz Daughtry and John Chell and Jeffrey Madry. And while he was in the Bronx, I don't know if they all went to Conso Frito after that raid they had. But listen, this guy is clearly involved with the police department. I don't know if he's getting money off of this, but his whole page is a dedication to this guy. I don't know what happened to him because he used to be a respected independent journalist, and he's gone completely the other way. And I'm not the only one saying that, John, because I know that he likes to say that we've been critical of him. Look at his page. It's other people that we don't even know that are saying this. And he just says it's us. It's us that say this.
Viral News forgets that about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, on several X spaces, he bashed the police department. He bashed the way the police department was handled these protests. He bashed the police department in their response. He was pretty critical of the police department. But then it's clear as day that Viral News saw that that social media was being that the media itself was being blocked by the police department with this least transparent administration. Clearly, Viral News started to butter up the Kaz Daughtry and John Chell, and they have this relationship, honestly, that is not a good look for journalism. And I even said to Viral News, journalists are supposed to maintain neutrality. But clear as day, I don't think he can see clear anymore because he's had butter up them. But the question is, what does he have to gain? And frankly, we are not going to back down by you trying to threaten John himself or this podcast about putting information out about police brutality, because I myself was substantiated from the Civilian Complaint Review Board for using a similar tactic that Kaz Daughtry, as a civilian member, used to keep a perpetrator in custody and control, where I had my knee near someone's shoulder, not near their neck, but I was substantiated by the CCRB, and this perpetrator shot another rival gang member, and I was substantiated by the Civilian Complaint Review Board. So clearly, Kaz Daughtry, in a position of power, should be held to the same standard. And if there's no problem with that particular picture, then why did Viral News put it out there? And why does he have a problem with us talking about it or questioning it? And why is he protecting Kaz Daughtry and John Chell? That's the question. What does he have to benefit? What he does benefit, what we can see, is that he has access to the media, unlike the other journalism. Will he also stand with Kaz Daughtry and John Chell and start to bully media with them? Because this is absolutely ridiculous. I think he's bootlicking also. I'm embarrassed by that. And we're not going to back down. If you want to go with the lawsuit, you know what? And if he sues the podcast and we have to pay $5,000, I'll be glad to pay half of it to expose what you're doing out there. And if John has to pay it personally, I'll pay half of it. I'm a man of my word. I'll pay half of that lawsuit because we're exposing, giving our opinion, and you're trying to protect people that are in a position that are bullying the public, you know what? Then you're just as bad as they are. And we're not going to back down. We haven't backed down from the unions. We haven't backed down from all cops are woke. We haven't backed down from mobsters. We sure as hell are not going to back down for some independent journalist who's out there bootlicking from the police department. Not at all. Sue all you want. Have fun. Good luck.
If he actually thinks that that's a lawsuit, that's laughable. That's laughable. I didn't see this picture because you know something? That should actually be forwarded to the DOI and the FBI, because now the question would be from whoever this perp is, someone should send them a lawyer. Kaz Daughtry can't put his hands on you. Literally, there is nothing. Look in the up and down the patrol guide. Tell me where it says Deputy Commissioner of Operations. You either A, report to him, B, this person is allowed to join in on law enforcement activities. That's the whole point of what we've been saying. That's illegal. He put his hands on a perpetrator or a suspect. That right there, timeout, game over. But, you know, again, you have bootlickers like this guy cheerleading for him, acting like he's a god, and other people that know what we're saying is true but refuse to write about it. But it looks like now that tide might be turning, because last 48 hours, I've seen a tsunami of things written about this administration. Now they're personally asking for Kaz Daughtry's head, which they should. And I hope that they sue also.
Eric, I'm going to pull up the Chell tweet, and I want to read the comments on it for the audience. What else are you thinking about today, and what has transpired over the night while I'm doing that?
First of all, I want to thank Ron Lacey. He's got some great comments, great perspective. We were just talking about this offline between our episodes. We had an episode before we had Tom LaPola on here, and John and I were both talking about this. You know what's indicative about this picture, and it's funny that Viral News is protecting Kaz Daughtry. It actually violates the diaphragm law. Ron Lacey put that picture looks like a violation of the diaphragm law. Great question. What if that was a blue shirt? Absolutely would be handled to a different standard. Well, the question is, what if that was a blue shirt and blue pants? Because if it's a blue shirt and khaki pants, there's a different standard. But if it's a blue shirt and blue pants, that's a standard. That particular officer would be in a world of shit right now. But Kaz Daughtry is held to a different standard. He's operating as a civilian with extreme level of power, violating every charter, every New York City policy, every rule, and now they're violating the law. They've actually broke the law, and everyone that was there is a witness to Kaz Daughtry breaking the law in their presence. And I'm sure none of them notified the Internal Affairs Bureau and made that phone call as they're supposed to. Again, this upper echelon cannot be trusted. I'm sure they're going to come out with more tweets. And again, I'm not going to back down. Neither is John and neither is Sal. And if it's lawsuits, I'm not afraid to lose money. I've been broke before. I'll bounce back. And you know what? We got great supporters out there and supporting us. We'll be just fine. And, shame on Viral News because you lost your way. No longer can you be a trusted, credible, verified journalist because there's no more neutrality. You're in bed with Kaz Daughtry and John Chell, and you can't see clear anymore. And now your judgment is clouded because you should report properly on that picture as you would if it was someone else.
I want to just read some of the responses to John Chell last night. Is there a reason you are cherry picking stats? This is from Reza Chowdhury. He's a great follow on X. Another statistical based analyst, similar to Sam Antar. Major crimes in total are down and violent crimes are in total up. You still have lots of work to do. And then he gives the stats. When will you admit the NYPD is run by civilian academics with no real police experience? All of you uniformed commanders should be ashamed for simping to these PhDs for your own self-promotion while letting them ruin the department. I think Eric and I actually proved that when we did a watch party of a podcast with the former Deputy Commissioner of Equity Inclusion. Chief, we got some people on here supporting them. Your predecessors are certainly against your childlike social media responses. You and the rest of the EM in the current NYPD have cheapened its level. It not thought possible. Why don't you send another contingent of MOS to another state for another publicity stunt? You are a fucking mental patient. How do you and Kaz decide which one is bottom every night? Hey, John, this is from Marlon. Can I get my career back now? Let's see. What else we got? Are you trying to skip the bar tab? This is mortifying. It reads like a 12-year-old Snapchat. You mentally okay? You're doing an amazing job, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely not. Crime counts go down when the reporting standards and classifications are manipulated to do so. Those Mexican tourists beg to differ. They're talking about the 2 females who were thrown in front of the train, believe the day before yesterday. Highly politicized, compromised leadership. Sucking up to Kaz, you would never give the time of day to. You will learn sooner than later. Ebonic Eric doesn't like crackers, and Uncle Jeff won't save you. Hey, Chief, maybe you should focus on your cops' morale problem. It seems like a lot of dirty laundry is being sorted / aired out in all major cities. What do you guys think about that?
Those comments say it itself. I mean, he's going to have a couple of bootlickers that are up their rear end whenever they put something to make it look like they oh, look, they love us, but clearly the majority of people don't like this guy. And it's probably worse if there's anything on Instagram. So wherever they put something, there's nothing but a flood of negative comments. And they don't even know. It's not even like negative where we're saying these people are like leftists and haters and progressive. They're just regular people. They're regular people that have said enough of the corrupt police department. This guy, we came from a different era. Maybe we didn't have social media. I don't remember ever seeing any executive ever anywhere in the police department in the middle of the night or close to like midnight decide to put something up that would rile up, the public, the cops, and the regular taxpayer. I mean, what is this guy doing? If he's got a problem, he needs to come on this show. Look, I don't know. I mean, John was in New York City. He could have met you at Cattle Black or wherever it is that you go out and down a few every night. I mean, look, if that's what you want, these guys can come and meet with you. I don't want to meet with you, John. I want to see you in the courtroom because you're another one that was pictured around Jimmy Rodriguez and all that other nonsense. So I'm not the tree you want to go, I'm not this tree bark that you're just going to go on and try to attack. But if you have a problem with this show and with us three, maybe we should just hash it out. That's what cops would do, right? So I don't know what it is because you sound unhinged and you've done this numerous times. Clearly, I think you're under pressure. I also think you're under the influence when you're writing this kind of stuff because this is great. Oh, this is a great meme, by the way. This was great.
Hey, you know what, Sal? This is what I want at this point. I want a mental health evaluation of John Chell and Kaz Daughtry. I think at this point, their actions are completely unhinged, unstable, and they're a threat to the community. They're a threat to the rank and file of the police department. They're a threat to themselves. I don't know what they're capable of. I honestly, I really stick by that. I think that they should be held to a psych evaluation at this point. If clearly Mayor Eric Adams is not going to remove them, if they're going to stay on, I want a psych evaluation. Should John Chell and Kaz Daughtry be in possession of firearms and out there serving the public, and the complete failure of leadership? Because this is what the rank and file sees right now. Again, it's now a 3-tiered system in the police department. It's civilian members in white shirts, it's blue shirts and khaki pants, and it's blue shirts and blue pants. No longer is there one standard. There's different standards for every group, and there's different groups and different cliques in this police department. And everything that John Chell put in his tweet, and I think you should read it again, everything he said about this podcast is really reflective of themselves. It's a mirror image of what's going on with them, not us. Again, get the fuck out of here. We're not going to back down to anyone. Absolutely not. You can sue us all you want. I'm not afraid of you. John's not afraid of you. Neither is Sal. And we're going to continue to speak out. The sword is our tongue, and it's powerful. Apparently, it's very powerful. It hurts the egos. And clearly, those comments solidify that everything that we're saying is right. No one likes a bully, even if they're right. And they're acting completely inappropriate. Everyone likes the underdog, and they haven't learned the goddamn thing.
Listen, I agree. It's funny that they send their proxy, the bootlicker, to try to intimidate the podcast, because that's hilarious because they can't do it themselves. Because imagine what he really wants to write is something about this show. He didn't write it there, but that's what he really wants to do. So he can't. So they run to the proxy, the bootlicker, the gopher, to try to say you can't use my stuff. He doesn't have apparently the New York Post and them they use this stuff. Some of them don't even pay him. And I understand that there's some things that the bootlicker has taken that does not even belong to him that he's posted. So, I don't know if this guy wants to really start ruffling the feathers, because there's plenty of people out there that know what his operation that he's doing as far as the stuff that he posts. I don't really want to get into that. I really don't care. I don't care for the guy anymore because he's become a complete bootlicker. But see this here? He's mentioning the numbers because, see, yesterday, Sam Antar, our friend, Crazy Eddie, did a whole thing. He did like a long post where he actually goes year to date, the last year, the last 3 years since Eric Adams took charge, and the major everything's up. All the numbers are up. I like I said, Eric Adams takes a snippet like 5 days and says, "Oh, crime is down in these 5 days," and puts up his chart, and he comes out to that stupid song by Alicia Keys, and everything's hunky dory in the world of Eric Adams, but it's always a sham. All crime is up. You can't have a shooting down from Gracie Mansion where you had a murder, basically a suicide murder, and say, "Oh yeah, crime it's down. Crime is down. Jobs are up." That's an infamous line in the world of Eric Adams, the swagger man with no plan.
So for those of you just tuning in, New York's Finest Retired and Unfiltered podcast. We're live on a lot of different places. I'm not going to name them all. But if you want to speak directly with us or have your comment read, or you want us to answer a question, or just want to make a comment, go over to either Rumble or YouTube at the Finest Unfiltered, where we can interact there. We're going to go for about another 20 minutes and we're going to get off this, but we're just going to recap what we're talking about. Again, Sal Greco's on here. He's kind enough to jump on last minute with us. He put out the other day that NYPD Deputy Commissioner Operations Kaz Daughtry, after being questioned about his vehicle use, going through school speeding zones, red lights, speed cameras, and getting tickets consistently, when he was questioned by Daily News reporter Rocco Parascandola, who's the police bureau chief for the Daily News, he had to be physically restrained. Apparently, he said to him something along the lines, "Don't you keep my fucking name out of your mouth." Something along those lines. And so Sal put that out. He went on the Roger Stone show at 770 and he said that. And then same time, I had made a comment about what we all been hearing, that NYPD Police Commissioner Ed Caban is on his way out. And so we put that out. And then late last night, Chief of Patrol John Chell tweets this: "Desperation equals state of despair, typically one which results in rash or extreme behavior. To whom it may concern, you have not figured it out yet. Obviously not. Keep striving for the clicks, clout, views, but the grind continues. The daily hard work and focus by our cops while keeping our city safe won't be minimized by the desperate, unprofessional few with hurt feelings." I gotta say, he was definitely should have been looking in the mirror at this point. "We will consider the source of the few who want the city to fail," which we don't, "but won't stop working for the 99% who want our city to succeed. Overall crimes down, shooting violence down, murders down, 23K illegal ghost cars / mopeds confiscated, up 25%, smoke shops padlocked. Facts. Keep working hard, everyone. Stay focused. Tune out the noise. Oh, yeah. And one more item. Don't think anyone is heading over to 233 Broadway anytime soon. Fake news."
Again, as I said, this tweet is exactly them looking in the mirror. It's reflective of everything that's about themselves. They would try to deflect all their inadequacies towards this podcast and you, Sal Greco. It's everything that's about them. They're desperate. They're desperate people taking desperate measures who are doing desperate things. They're clearly talking to this podcast. I don't care if they go to 233 Broadway and retire or not, but clearly they should not be in a position of power. They cannot handle. They're not stoic. They're not professional. They are inadequate. It's about egos over everything, and they're misusing power. And now they really crossed the threshold where they're starting to commit crimes in their bullying tactics. And I hope eventually the FBI steps in, and that's where they belong. Not 233 Broadway. They belong on Broadway headed towards federal court. Absolutely. You're 100% right. They need to go to 500 Pearl Street. That's where they should be going, not 233 Broadway, 500 Pearl Street to the Southern District of the federal court. That's where they should be headed. Shame on John Chell. Absolutely making these nighttime tweets that clearly sounds like he's inebriated. This is someone that's in a position of power. That's why even in my response, I said, are you really the chief of patrol? I mean, is this a joke that the public, the largest police department in the entire country, a city of 8 million people, has the opportunity to read this tweet? I mean, it's embarrassing. This is what's reflective of the most iconic police department. What an embarrassment. This is the police department that we think of. And again, goes back to what I'm saying. This is now a 3-tiered system police department. Civilian members in charge, blue shirts with khaki pants, and blue shirts with blue pants. There's no more standard. And honestly, they really are unhinged. And the more that we talk about this, John and Sal, you know what, John? They really are a threat. And I would like to know who all cops are wokers, because at this point, I want to know if John Chell or Kaz Daughtry had a handle, if they were part of the handle of all cops are woke. I want to know that, and I demand that from Internal Affairs Bureau immediately, because my kids are at risk, and I'm taking this seriously right now, and I'll never let anyone touch my kids, and neither will John. We are not scared. We're not backing down. We're going to continue to give our opinion, because the tongue is the sword, and we're not backing down from these bullies. These people are evil. Honestly, they need a psych evaluation immediately. They are unhinged, and the fact they're in possession of a firearm, clearly they're a threat to a public. John Chell has already been a threat to someone. Someone lost their life as he accidentally discharged his firearm. Well, supposedly he said so in a chaotic situation. They are unhinged. They cannot handle duress. They cannot handle stress. And again, just like I said yesterday in the podcast, I cut them zero slack. Zero. They're in a position of power. They're supposed to have that ability, and clearly they should not be there.
You know, I'm just going to say I saw that, and, it says something about click, likes, and views. Coming from a guy that has his own social media team, his partner there, Kaz Daughtry, you wasting, and I made reference of it on Roger's show, how Eric Adams' campaign, he was going to cut the bureaucratic units in the NYPD. Everyone's going to be out on patrol. They have 80 cops in DCPI that are full duty. This is not restricted cops. These are not cops that are injured or, coming off an injury. Full duty, and there's some kind of social media unit, because Kaz Daughtry loves to go on Sid Rosenberg, and I love Sid, but Sid is never critical of these guys. He just kisses up to every cop. They're his friend. He's the greatest. That one's the greatest, but Kaz Daughtry's not the greatest. He's actually a criminal. Him saying that, click, views, and all these other things. Isn't it funny that my own case turned on a dime because the NYPD can't get away from the camera. They can't get away from social media to say, look at me. I'm at Consofrito with a bunch of felons and criminals, and I'm hanging out with them. And that's what got you in trouble to begin with. It's not Sal Greco that looks for clout. If I really told you the important politicians and people that I've been around and I've hung around, like, obviously you know who I'm friends with, and I put that out on social media, then you could say, oh, Sal Greco's a clout chaser. What do you see me putting out on social media? It's basically exposing people like you, John, and Kaz Daughtry, along with, I like highlight. I want to have entertainment. I want people to see that there's more to life than just the police department and politics and all this other stuff. There's nobody clout chasing you other than you and the rest of the goons up there in Eric Adams' administration. You guys seem to locate a camera and just want to stop and hey, look at me. Like, remember that? Did you not? We saw that other press conference where Kaz Daughtry had to step around everyone and get in front of the chief of transit because he had to make it about himself. He had to. That is the clicks and views part of what he was saying. He's definitely not looking in the mirror. And as far as fake news goes, John, buddy, I have the goods on you guys. You should know that. You were there when I was a cop. You thought I was really good, right? Oh, Sal's great. I remember what you used to say. All of a sudden now I'm fake news. Yeah, keep talking. John, have another one. Have another beer, John. You only grown one. You only weigh like 300 pounds. You're just going to be like 320 pounds by the end of the night.
Really conflicted at this point. And again, we pointed out early, and Sal brought it up again. And for those of you that just tuning in, This is Sam Antar, whitecollarfraud.com. I highly suggest following Sam Antar on X and going to his whitecollarfraud.com. Here's what he tweeted. Hey, Chief of Patrol, why are you so unhinged this evening? Is it because you sanctimonious a-holes got caught with your pants down lying about crime numbers? Here are the facts. Violent major felonies, 2024 versus 2023, up 4.5%. Violent major felonies, 2024 versus 2021, up 33% during Eric Adams' tenure as mayor. Violent major felonies, 2024 versus 2019, up 32.3% since the year before the pandemic, bail reform, and discovery reform. Eric, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'd like to get your opinion on this too. Do you think anything that either Eric Adams or his appointed managers in the NYPD have done, have instituted, have helped the people of the good city of New York City or any of the members of the NYPD?
Absolutely not. They lack any ability to be innovative. Absolutely not. Have they put their finger on anything? They have not initiated any creative ideas or anything that's imaginatory for the police department that would actually make the police department move in a better direction. All they have done is just follow suit with Mayor Eric Adams, who clearly has no idea about policing. The only time they de facto to is broken windows theory, intrusive police work, when it's so bad and it's pinnacle in a particular situation. And other than that, their only plan is omnipresence, which is not a plan. It's not sustainable, especially in a diminished police department. Again, they're not innovative. They do not have the knowledge to be in the positions that they are. They're not taking the city where it needs to go. They have no innovative ideas. This whole ideology that they're bringing of technology, we know, has already been explored already, which we had a video on a prior podcast more than 10 years ago where Ray Kelly was already talking about gun detection scanners and things of that sort, and the obstacles that they have with the legality. And again, they want to make people believe by gaslighting the public that this is new technology, it's innovative. No, because clearly they have no thoughts. And again, John, it's what we say, right? They're just the last guys that hung around at the bar. They hung around long enough, except for Kaz Daughtry, who's just a complete nepotism hire. And again, we're not in a good position. These inadequate managers are they do not have the capability to bring the city where it needs to be. Absolutely not. They're more concerned with tweets in the middle of the night of attacking a podcast, because what's more important than protecting public safety is protecting their own egos. Sal, I think it's quite interesting. Somebody left a great comment here because you were mentioning it before. Do you think Sid Rosenberg would appear on this podcast? He seems to be friends of this administration. This is by Gary Nadler. That's a great question, by the way. But clearly, I don't think Sid Rosenberg would come on here. He sure butters up to Kaz Daughtry and John Chell with his ground ball questions. But Sid Rosenberg, he's friends with you one day, friends with someone else. So I don't think he should be trusted either. But I don't think he would come on this podcast. Would be great to have a discussion about his relationship with the police department and what he thinks about them. So, Sal, what do you think?
I actually think he wouldn't come on just because, Sid Rosenberg now, he sees himself at the level of a Mark Levin or something like that. Where, I mean, look, you had Roger Stone on this show. Roger Stone's pretty much 10 times bigger deal than Sid Rosenberg ever will be. So, but I don't think he'll come on because he probably doesn't want to be asked certain questions that'll, expose the fact that he's another cheerleader, especially for this administration, the NYPD. But he hung out with Eric Adams. He doesn't like Eric Adams. But at the same time, there was a period where he was very almost like cheerleading for Eric Adams. So I don't know. He seems a little conflicted with everything. But I called him out on the show just because he's never critical of Kaz Daughtry, and you have a big radio show that's in the morning. I think you should ask him to say, if let's say he was asking some of these questions, maybe he doesn't threaten the reporter or try to, punch the guy. So, I don't think you'll ever see him on the show. I really don't. I think that, you got a better shot at maybe a Curtis Sleewa coming on than Kaz Daughtry. Curtis is more open to speaking to different people, especially people that, are critical of Eric Adams or or want to see like Curtis as the mayor, he would probably more than likely come on, Kurt, but not. I don't see Sid Rosenberg ever. It just listen to a show. Whenever you hear anything about a thing about a cop, Sid Rosenberg is like jumping up and down for them. It's like he is back to blue, blind with a blindfold. Whatever they do, if they shoot people, it's okay. Everything they do is okay. Then there's going to be people that say, what is that, the old Reagan adage, trust but verify? But Sal Greco tells you to do the Sicilian way. And the Sicilian way is you verify and then you trust. Because no one, I hate to say this, and people should be listening. If you're a cop or you know cops, you need to verify each individual cop and then trust them. Because you don't know. You've seen too many incidents now. Like, look at a guy with the woman with the pot in her hand. Okay, and he basically executed her. Nobody says when you see the video, he actually tells her, I'm going to shoot you in the head. So it's like a premeditated. The guy deserves to be in jail for what he did. Had he just kept his mouth shut, maybe then he could probably say, oh, I'm just doing my job. But he's basically saying, I'm going to shoot you in the head. I'm going to shoot you. And then he does it. So that was really stupid of him. But that's what I'm saying. He handled it that way. Me and you, all three of us may handle it. I can guarantee we're going to handle it a completely different way. But that's the cop of today. You need to verify and then trust them. Only because look at the sea of cops and sea of stuff that you've seen. It's everywhere, especially in this freaking administration.
Again, for those of you that are tuning on, NYPD Kaz Daughtry physically threatened the Daily News reporter. It was reported first by the Sal Greco, put it out on his X. Then he went on the Roger Stone show on 770 AM. He spoke about it. Then we spoke about it here on this podcast. Then NYPD Chief of Patrol John Chell puts out a cryptic late night, what appeared to be drunk tweeting. I think Gary Weiss said it appears the NYPD Chief of Patrol is hitting the cooking sherry again. Things of that nature. I mean, a million people were talking about this, and now it's confirmed. He was calling fake news. It was an attack towards this podcast, towards Sal Greco, that were putting out fake news. And this comes out today on X from the from the Daily News Union, an open letter to NYPD Commissioner Ed Caban and Deputy Commissioner Kaz Daughtry and Tariq Shepard. To Police Commissioner Caban, Mr. Daughtry, and Mr. Shepard, we, the members of the Daily News Union, are writing to demand an apology from Deputy Commissioner for Operations Kaz Daughtry for trying to publicly intimidate the News Police Bureau Chief Thursday, August 1st, 2024, in full view of reporters from multiple outlets, as well as dozens of NYPD officers. The incident, described by multiple people as Deputy Commissioner Daughtry getting into our bureau chief's face and twice having to be physically removed by other officers, demonstrates a fundamental lack of respect for working reporters and a brazen contempt for decorum. We trust that in addition to making a public apology, the NYPD will ensure that Deputy Commissioner Daughtry's conduct is formally reviewed and steps to ensure no such incidents happen again. Eric, what do you think we're going to see as a result of this?
Well, I think there's a great comment here by our friend Marlon B. Marlon, how you doing, brother? He said Kaz has the ear of Adams. That's absolutely right. What does it say in this particular letter? It says that this was witnessed by numerous officers of the police department, and no one said anything. No one reached out. No one made a public spectacle about this. No one policed their own. No one put Kaz Daughtry in their face. It Kaz Daughtry in his place. So what does that mean? It means that Kaz Daughtry is actually the police commissioner of the police department. He's the one in charge because everyone's afraid to actually put him in his place and check him. Kaz Daughtry is in charge. He's the police commissioner. He has the hand to Adams. He has the ear to Adams. And I do not think that there's going to be a public apology, nor do I think Kaz Daughtry will be held accountable. And I think that this is dangerous and this could lead into something far worse.
Sal, what do you think?
I definitely do not see him becoming the police commissioner any time. I think that it depends if Rocco sues, then this probably be the end of Kaz Daughtry's career. Either way, Kaz should step down. I think all the journalists in New York City should just keep their foot on the throat on this, because you cannot be having this. If this is the way you're going down this road, it really is Gotham City. It's literally the scene from Gotham City. We had everybody in the nightclub, which would be like a confrontation, and they're all showing up there, and people getting smacked around and beaten up, and that's what you have. You have no more civility. And remember, as goes New York City, goes the rest of the country, because it is the metropolis of the country. That's the financial capital of the world. And you're having this kind of stuff go on. I mean, are we professionals or are we not? I guess that's why they took CPR off the side of the car. Courtesy, professional respect, because there is none. There is none with this administration, and definitely with these clowns running the New York City Police Department, especially this guy in particular, Kaz Daughtry, a civilian who's running around thinking he's still a police officer.
What do you guys think? There was another thing that came out too about Tariq Shepard's wife got some $180,000 gig, whatever it is, whether it's on the up and up or it's not. People are gonna have comments about it. I personally think it shows that there is a huge circle of nepotism in New York City. I'm not saying she's not qualified. I don't know anything about the girl. She may be the most suited. I don't know, but the fact that the deputy commissioner of public information by the NYPD, he stated to the New York Post, "I don't care what you think or what you write." What do you think about that statement, Eric? Because I think it's completely unbecoming of the person holding that title. Like, what did you agree with me, or like, what do you?
Oh, absolutely. That's it's funny you say that, because that actually was one of my responses to John Chell's tweets, is that this is completely unbecoming of a law enforcement official. It's exactly in the entire upper echelon of the police department is acting irrational, childish, and just clearly showing that they have an extreme amount of power, and that they're confident that Mayor Eric Adams is going to allow to perpetuate this movement that they're doing of just completely bullying the public, and they don't care even if there is an appearance of impropriety. That was always like the biggest thing. Part of our era of our policing was, not only do you want to be guilty of corruption, but you don't even want the appearance of impropriety. You don't even want anyone looking into it and saying, well, something doesn't look right here. But that's what's going on here. They're not afraid of any appearance of impropriety. I agree with you. The wife may be suitable for this job. This gig may be necessary. We don't know. We don't know the context. And I don't think that even matters at this point. But it does show everything that we're talking about, that even further than DEI, that what's going on with this administration is just an egregious amount of nepotism, and that it's so much nepotism that it's on par with a high level of corruption. And the fact that he's willing to make a statement like that just puts him part of the crew. And I think we should start referring to them. This is the unhinged crew. They're unhinged in the mannerisms that they take. They're not stoic. They're not professional. And this whole thing has gone down the toilet. It really, oh, look, someone just happens to put that. Crazy 10-7. How has this gotten so far down the toilet? It is down the toilet because Mayor Eric Adams is in a leadership position that has allowed this, enabled, and encouraged it, because he's acting like a tyrant. And it's all about small unit leadership breakdown. His leaders that he should be responsible and own and responsibility and accountable for are acting just like him. And it's going to trickle down to the rank and file if we do not put a stop to it now. And someone was asking earlier on this, how do we help out? By continually speaking out and using the tongue. The tongue is a sword. We have to keep our foot on the pedal, and the squeaky wheel gets the oil. It's shameful what's going on with the police department. We need to get a new mayor, and the mayor has to put in the right police commissioner. And John, you and I spoke about this yesterday, and I think that's a great way to move. Is no longer than the police commissioner can be appointed by the mayor. It really needs to be an elected official, someone that's chosen by the people, that serves the people and not serves them.
I think they're about to take the right of the police commissioner away to make the CCRB decisions, amongst other things, on the punishment. Remember, they had this disciplinary matrix that they implied. In fact, the head of the CCRB, the former head, he wrote a whole article about it. We implemented the disciplinary matrix, and now it looks like Caban just does whatever he feels like doing. And any police commissioner always had that right, but then it's not impartial and it's not fair. It's basically arbitrary. It's who do you know? How do you know them? And they'll help you out. That you can't have, because then you end up in a situation like mine. And I'm also seeing people like Harry Siegel liking the stuff we're saying. And see, here's the deal. I know people say, "Oh, you're Sal, you're a big MAGA Republican." Look, I like Trump. I'm a Republican, yes, but do I hate people on the other side? No, I really don't. They're going to be people that I don't get along with, that I feel that as a Democrat or progressive, like some of the people we're very critical of. But if you think that I didn't forget that I was a cop at one point, and that even if I didn't like the guy and I think he's a total piece of garbage, that doesn't mean now I lose my role and I forget that I'm a cop and say, you know what, his public safety doesn't matter. That's wrong. If you think that this incident that Kaz Daughtry did, and you're okay with this, you're part of the problem also. I don't care what you think of Rocco Parascandola, who, by the way, I hear very good things. The guy does his job. Plus, he's a paisan, but he does his job, and he's been doing it a long time. He's been around. A lot of people like him. I'm sure he would talk to any cop. He's not one of these guys. You got to get out of your head that the media wants to write cops are bad. They're critical of the leadership. And there's going to be times where, yes, cops get arrested for stupid things. It happens. It happens. But it doesn't mean that these journalists specifically hate you or say, we hate cops. There are some cop haters. Jumaane Williams is one. We have people that are cop haters, but you can't go around threatening to beat up reporters, especially as an NYPD executive. Just remember where you're at. Suppose the president had a press conference in the White House, and one of his aides turns around and says, Kevin Ducey, the guy from Fox News, you know what? Keep my name out of your mouth. You know what? And he jumps and he has to be restrained by all the personnel there, all the security. You think that would look good? Because that's basically what you saw here. And I'm saying we cannot go down this road. You need decorum. You may not like somebody, go to the voting booth and vote them out. You don't like city council, protest, go to the hearings, make your voice be heard. See if they do anything illegal, bring it up so that maybe there could be investigations. But you don't result in a violence. I'm sorry. They said that
Hold on. I don't want to cut you guys off, but we got a little bit of breaking news here, and this is what is being rumored. So we got to get this out to the public.
Let's go ahead. Go ahead.
So what we're hearing is that Rocco Parascandola was sitting at the press conference when the illustrious NYPD Deputy Commissioner of Operations Kaz Daughtry went behind him, whispered in his ear, "So you want to do a story on summonses, huh?" Rocco got up and confronted him. They went chest to chest, and they had to be pulled apart. So that's what information, we're getting from some sources, confidential sources, not active members of the NYPD, by the way. That's what we're hearing. Is that appropriate behavior, Eric, in your opinion? Because, again, he's alluding to the summons story about the executive cars being issued summonses for violating no speeding in school zones, passing red lights, speeding, things of this nature.
Well, what it does do, first of all, it's completely inappropriate. It's terrible behavior from someone who's in a leadership position of power, who's supposed to have a relationship with the media, who's supposed to be transparent. First of all, that's a bullying tactic right there. He's trying to domineer physically. He's trying to be domineering to Rocco Parascandola in that position by whispering in his ear. That's a complete bullying tactic. He's trying to show his power over him. But here's the problem, ultimately. I think this is what's even bigger than this. We're just talking about Kaz Daughtry and John Chell and the people that are there and what's going on with the media at this present moment. But this is now an infection that could infect the entire police department, the rank and file. Because what's going to happen with the cops now? They're going to say, well, Kaz Daughtry got away with this. So when cops are at a crime scene and the media's there trying to film and they're asking what locations they can stay in, are cops going to get chest to chest with the media now that are on the scene of a crime scene that are asking them questions? Are cops going to get chest to chest with perpetrators on the street? No longer will we remain stoic and professional. We're going to lose that. And this escalates the situation even further right now. We're losing trust in law enforcement. we lost trust in the leadership, but we're going to lose trust in the rank and file, because this could easily trickle down to the rank and file. That's my biggest fear. And I want to support the rank and file. So I'm telling the rank and file right now, if you watch this, and also your friends, if they're scared to watch this, you have to let them know. Do not be guided by this leadership. Do not follow their lead, because if you follow their lead, you're going to end up in a pickle, in a very bad situation. You are held to a different standard. If you get into a situation like this, Alvin Bragg will come after you. Alvin Bragg did not come after Kaz Daughtry. I don't know what borough this was in that this happened, but I think this was actually in Manhattan, right? At City Hall.
Yeah, this was in Manhattan. Sal, before you go, I just got one question for both of you before you go. Eric, if somebody filed a CCRB complaint on you, a frivolous one, right? A frivolous CCRB complaint, what would happen to you if you walked up to that individual and said, you want to file a CCRB on me? What would happen to you as a uniformed member of service? Is that do you believe you would face discipline? Do you believe you would face consequences? Do you feel it's appropriate? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
First of all, it's not appropriate, right? Because that's a form of retaliation. Absolutely, you would be suspended immediately. At no point are we supposed to try to demonize and bully the public. And Sal, I'm alluding to what you were speaking about earlier. It doesn't matter. Even if Rocco Pascandola was inappropriate and said things to Kaz Daughtry to insult him, you're the police department. You're supposed to remain stoic and professional. You're supposed to have the thick skin. Our police officers are held to that standard, right? The public has freedom of speech to say things to the police officers, even if they're hateful, and the police have to have the thick skin to endure it. But yet the people that are in a leadership position, who should have even thicker skin, can't endure it themselves. This is just a complete debacle. The police department, especially upper echelon, needs an overhaul immediately. And if it doesn't, it's affecting the entire police department, and it's going to trickle down if it has not already. I do believe that the blue shirts and the khaki pants have been infected. I'm sure there's some outliers there right now saying, I don't agree with this, but they're in a good spot. But the overwhelming majority have been affected by it. They're with Kaz Daughtry on a daily basis and John Chell. So clearly they have been affected by it.
Yeah, my message clearly is, if you're rank and file, always go back to your training. Whatever you were trained in, whatever they tell you, when you pick up that phone, you got to do all those dumb videos for whatever training. That's what you stick with. If you follow these guys, they're going to basically tell you to do something that's unconstitutional or illegal. And then when you do it, I never told you that. Who told you to do that? What does your training say? You're fired. That's exactly how these guys roll, just so you understand. And my beef was never with a cop in the street. The cops in the street are the ones holding up the fort. They're just looking to get by the day because they don't know what to do. Why? Because you have clowns like this. And if that's even true, that makes it worse, because then it's Kaz Daughtry went over to Rocco to instigate. And that's why he then told him, keep my name out of your mouth. I'll do whatever the hell I want, take red lights or whatever, because he instigated the whole incident. This guy's got a mental problem. No cop, no executive would ever go behind some reporter's ear and do something like that and instigate an incident like that. And Eric, you're mentioning, don't do this to reporters. You're right. Except we know that there's one bootlicker that runs around basically with them. So that guy's allowed to film and do whatever on the crime scenes or the cannabis, to go on the raids, but the regular journalists won't be able to do it. Exclusive right to the bootlicker, but nobody else. So that's what I'm seeing anyway. If you see these guys in the street, guys in the street, you cops out there, don't get involved. Do not. The media is allowed to do whatever they want. They have almost like unfettered access, other than, the crime scenes. Always go back to your training. Do not follow this guy, what he's telling you, because I'm telling you what's going to happen. He's going to tell you to do something that's wrong, and then they're going to throw it back on you and say, what was your training? And by the way, if an incident like that ever happened with CCRB, and a cop turn around, or I turn around and say, hey, you, blah, 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 I'd be suspended right away. In fact, I'd make the cover of the paper. They'd be writing about that whole incident saying a rogue cop goes haywire on somebody who filed a CCRB and didn't even go in a room yet. Cannot do that. Do not ever do that.
Absolutely. I want to pull up a video here just so everyone understands who we're talking about and what we're talking about. And actually, Sal, you had put this video out a while back. Down, but you had put this video out a while back. Here's a video of NYPD Deputy Commissioner Kaz Daughtry in uniform with a firearm, bulletproof vest. We know that retired members of the service and only cannot open carry. Only uniformed members of the service and the NYPD have the authority to open carry. It's another thing. If he is a civilian, he's violating open carry. He's violating gun laws in New York State and in New York City. He's violating.
I'll second that. I agree with concealed carry. I know they Corn Pop said that I'm against a second A, but yeah, I think you should conceal carry.
But you're gonna see there's some young kids here. He's walking up to them with a backwards hat on, and then I'd like to get both of your thoughts on what you feel about this before we start to wrap this up. All right, here we go, people. Here's the video.
What's going on? We chilling. I see him on the loser lot. I see you on the loser lot. You really want to go there? Commissioner, you really want to go there? You laughing at me? I'm going to show you something to laugh at in a minute. What do you mean by that? That's a threat? Is that a threat, Commissioner? Yeah. Why are you threatening him for no reason? Who's threatening? Whoa, Commissioner, hold on. Commissioner, whoa. Commissioner. Hold on. Why are you threatening him for no reason? All right. You said you been here calling me. It's on camera. No, nobody that. I told you that. Nobody told you that. Okay, how do you know? It's on camera. Bruce, get some of yours over here. Let's go. Everybody clear the block. How about that? Let's clear the block. What's going on? We chilling. I see him on the loser lot. I see you on the loser lot. You really want to go there? Commissioner.
I want to say something first before Eric, only because of this video. I put this out, and then Bootlicker tried to put his little version out and got smacked around. So this video, what he's doing is completely being unprofessional. He's threatening this guy. Then he says, I'm going to do this and that. And then he's backtracking as he realized he got 30 people filming him. All right. Then look, standing next to him is a white shirt. I know who that guy is. Bruce Separano. Bruce, I know you. You too worked with me in the 6-0 when you were the XO. Don't act like you don't know me now. I mean, we hung out together, but now I guess me and Eric Dim, you don't want to know us. So
wait, Sal, he doesn't know me though.
He doesn't know you apparently. He doesn't know you, even though he grew up with you. But Bruce, listen, he was a good friend of mine. I'm not going to lie. He's standing there, and I don't know how he just stands there and lets this guy who's a civilian take the lead. The highest ranking uniform member on that scene is, I believe it's Inspector Bruce Separano now. How do you let this guy, Kaz Daughtry, do that? Where he is a civilian, he's getting in the face of perpetrators in violation of the patrol guide. He's trying to take law enforcement action because he's threatening them with arrest, and then he's backtracking. I don't know what kind of uniform this is. It's some makeshift deputy commissioner operations outfit. It's not even in the patrol guide. I don't even know if this is authorized. And he's got his gun out yet again, where he should not be doing this. But Bruce Separano, you are the highest ranking uniform member of service on the scene. Why are you not taking charge and telling him, tell Kaz, push him? You do it. You handle that. You're the highest ranking guy on the scene. And this is what I'm talking about with this guy. This is the kind of stuff that's going to cost taxpayers millions of dollars. These guys can sue and they will win. Kaz Daughtry cannot do what he's doing right there. He cannot take law enforcement action.
All right, I'm sure what you're saying is great, but you got to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know why it bounced back, but the cursor was on it. Anyway, but what does this solidify? This solidifies what we were talking about earlier, John, that this podcast is being bullied by this administration. Why? Bruce Separano, we spent a lot of time together in our careers. We spoke a lot together on the phone about when we were studying for different exams. Bruce and I were in the academy together, but Bruce is terrified to admit that he knows me because he's close to Kaz Daughtry. So yes, this podcast is bullied. There's been numerous interactions that Bruce has had with Cop Watch. He's afraid to admit that he knows me because there is probably retribution to face from Kaz Daughtry. What do we also see here, Sal? You know what we see? This is the real Kaz Daughtry when it's not a stage photo op, because I've seen numerous times Kaz Daughtry walk into the press conference and he has to turn his hat forwards. Now, I wear my hat backwards plenty of times on this podcast, but I'm no longer a police officer and I'm no longer in uniform. It looks completely unprofessional. His hat is turned to the side. This is who Kaz Daughtry really is. And he said, you really want to go there? You really want to go there? Because this perpetrator, is he a nuisance? Yes. Is he being annoying? Yes. Is he hitting his ego? Yes. But you're not supposed to let it get to you. You're supposed to have thicker skin. I used to tell my cops, be mission-oriented and have a task, have a mission. Are you there to make arrest or you're not? Either make the arrest or get out. But he decided, this is a great case for the Civilian Complaint Review Board. He decided eventually to make an arrest or issue summonses when he went, come on, Bruce, because he hit his ego. So I don't know what citation, what penal law code is for violating someone's ego. But Kaz Daughtry knows, apparently. But that's what's going on here.
I just want to play this video one more time because Eric, both you and Sal just both hit excellent points. But I think we really just got to focus on this video before we get off. Because listen to what Kaz Daughtry's saying, right? They're unruly youths. He never mentions a crime that they committed. He said, you laughing at me? I'm going to give you something to laugh at. Right? I'm going to play this again. Let's listen to this again. And this is, again, bully type mafia style tactics. Now, when I hear a rumor saying that this man went up behind a reporter and whispered in his ear, you like to write reports about people blowing red lights, I believe it, because I mean it's clear as day right here. Let's watch it one more time, and I just want everyone to hone in on what was being said.
What's not going on? We chilling. I see him on the loser lot. I see you on the loser lot. You really want to go there? Commissioner. You
really want to go there?
Really want to go there? You laughing at me? I'm going to give you something to laugh at in a minute.
You laughing at me? I'm going to give you something to laugh at in a minute.
What do you mean by that? That's a threat? Is that a threat, Commissioner? Yeah. Why are you threatening him for no reason? I was Commissioner, hold on. Commissioner.
And you know what? Who didn't like when Sal, when you talked about what Kaz Daughtry was saying, who didn't like it? Viral News. Bootlick and Viral News did not like when you and I commented on Kaz Daughtry's behavior here. He defended him. He defended him here. He defended him today with John's picture. He's been defending them all along. He's been in cahoots with these two. Again, what does he have to benefit from it?
No, and you're right. What he said is actually, once again, he's the instigator. What do they teach us? He's got 10 guys with him. What do they teach you? 21 feet of distance. He goes right up to the guy's face, and right away he instigates with the gun. I don't agree with these unruly youths, we'll call them, or what the hell they're exactly doing. But you don't have to step up to him face to face, which is not what they train you to do. And he's instigating. I'll give you something. What does that mean? Why are you, as the deputy commissioner, you're not even supposed to be doing this? That's what I keep saying. That would be Bruce's job, if anything. As the highest ranking uniform member on the scene. This guy should be in a car, in a suit, probably at One Police Plaza. But right now, he should be unemployed, in all honesty.
You know what, Sal? As the most complained cop of the NYPD, I never spoke like this to people. I was mission-oriented. I made the arrest. I handcuffed him, or we got out of there. I got my complaints because I had to use force when I was arresting violent perpetrators, but I never spoke like this. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm calling for a civilian complaint against Kaz Daughtry. This is absolutely ridiculous, because how can the rank and file conduct themselves with thick skin when he clearly can't handle his own ego? This is about protecting his own ego. Again, I don't know what penal code it is, but this guy is going to get summons or issued or arrested because he hurt his ego. Oh, I'll give you something to laugh about. Is this what was the violation? What did he do? I mean, clearly he's annoying. He's a nuisance. I'll give him that. But you're supposed to be better than that. You are a New York City police officer. Actually, you're no longer a New York City police officer. You are the deputy commissioner of operations. You're in charge of the best department in the entire world, and you can't even handle this. He can't handle this little interaction with this guy that looks like he's malnourished, who couldn't beat up a balloon. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big dude, right? He's got all big dudes with him. Bruce Separano is a big, muscular dude. He's a full-bird inspector. He's got basically an army behind him. You don't need to flex your muscle. What are you laughing at? They're violating the law. Walk over to them. Listen, gentlemen, it's time to break it up here. You're loitering. I would hate to have to lock you all up or give you summonses. Think it's time everybody should leave now, right? That's it. That's all that needed to be done. The interaction's gone. You don't need to get in anybody's face. You don't need to bully tackle. But instead, he's almost stooped down to their level, and he's down in the dirt with them. You laughing at me? You laughing at me? What do you care what they're laughing at? They're dumb kids. Either get them to move because they're in violation of the law, or just drive off and be like, you see those kids? I get made fun of all the time. You got to see my dog when I walk down the block. You got to see the kids. They're like, oh, mister, that's a great dog. It's a scary dog you got there, you know? And I laugh, man. I never I think it's hysterical, you know? But like clearly thin-skinned, clearly unhinged. You going to write a story about me? Get my name out of your mouth. I mean, this isn't something coming from an adult or from a professional, man. It's not.
I'm laughing thinking about you walking that dog because you saw the dog the other day you had on your shoulders. Man, cute dog as hell, but I just envision you walking with your big ass arms, and shit's hysterical. But you know what's funny about this, John? I just want to hang on to something you said. You said that he's stooping to his level. I actually think that the adversary in this is stooping to his level because clearly we don't have the entire context, and it seems to me that Kaz Daughtry is the bully in this, and then he's still at his level. Absolutely. Again, like you said, why do you have to flex on this? You have all big guys with you. You are the deputy commissioner of operations. You're bothered by this guy. You should swat him like a little fly, man. I got no time for you. Listen, if they're impeding pedestrian traffic, give the summons and walk out. But no, he feeds on. He enjoys it. So you know what, Rocco Pascandola, we're pretty confident of what happened here.
Listen, before we end this, we're going on over 2 hours. We got close to 600 people on here. You know, we always appreciate everybody's thoughts, opinions. I think we should just hit it one more time, man. What happened is what's been happening for the last 8 months. Anybody giving opinion about this, about anything that the leadership in the NYPD does, anybody reporting actual facts coming out from the executives in the NYPD has been met with unprofessional misuse of police resources, bullying tactics, intimidation tactics in an attempt to shut down their free speech because they're attempting to intimidate reporters when next time they go to write a story or next time myself and Eric go to do a podcast or the next time Sal goes to do a show or tweets, they're attempting to intimidate us to not do that. Absolute wrong use of law enforcement. It's Stalinistic. It's something of a communist third world regime. I don't believe these people are upholding the oath that they swore. I think it's really dangerous precedent. And if Eric Adams was a leader, he would have put a stop to it 6 months ago. But instead, they've just increasingly got emboldened. And this is where we're at. We're seeing the misuse of law enforcement while we have tourists being pushed in front of subway cars, while we're being told that Central Park is safe because there's a drone when robberies are happening every night and the drone can't fly on through the trees and the drone can't fly under the trees. The only body that could stop the robberies in Central Park is the American police officer, right? And we're seeing people leave at a dramatic rate out of the NYPD early, way before their time. And it's going to continue with this regime continuing. So, guys, if we could just get your final thoughts. Eric, I'll start with you. Sal, appreciate you coming on, brother. We'll end with you. And then I think we start to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up. I'm drinking cups of coffee here. So I gotta piss like crazy over here. But anyway, Sal, dude, thank you so much for coming on as always in a pinch. I'm so glad that you put this out there, and you were dead on, man. You were accurate. You're 100% right. I'd like to end with this. I'm just going to read Crazy 10-7's comment. I think he nailed it. This interaction has discredited this police department entirely. A civilian executive of the largest police department in the country just took a shit on the decorum or what was left of it completely. I'll end on that. 100% right. Thank you, everyone, for being engaged with us today. Thank you, Corn Pop. I do support the Second Amendment. He's got me laughing hysterical by it. But you know what? I do support concealed carry. Kaz Daughtry, you should be concealed carry. Kaz, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be critical, to speak on this, because this is what's important, that we do speak on this behavior, because this is not identifiable of what we expect from real leadership. Sal, thank you so much, brother. John, as always, man, I love it. We did 2 lives today. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We got a guest coming on also at 9 a.m. Be with us at 8 a.m. and be ready to go. New York's Finest Unfiltered podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, thanks for having me on. Listen, like I said, I do things for the betterment of the New York State taxpayer and the common cop in the street who's got to deal with these maniacs up top that are like, if you're not kissing the ring, you're going to have these issues. So I say this, thank you all. I'm going to have my own show I'm going to put out in regards to this stuff on my YouTube and my Rumble, so you can check that out, and also the major platforms. And keep watching this show, because this show happens to get a rise out of the leadership. It's unbelievable. If you're NYPD leadership, probably is watching this show right now instead of worrying about the public safety and other issues in New York City. They're actually watching this show, especially the 2 characters we keep referencing in John Chell and Kaz Daughtry. And stay tuned, because we never know what's going to happen next. As John says best, if there's another 4 years of Eric As administration, you have material every single day with these clowns.
Absolutely. Before we get off, I'm going to play a few videos. But before we do that, I just want to bring you to an ad that we've been running. We're trying to break up the supermajority in Assembly. Tom Sullivan, 30-year retired colonel, running for Assembly District 23 in Queens. We'll play that video now. Tom Sullivan is the Republican, Conservative, and Common Sense Party candidate for New York State Assembly District 23. Tom is a financial professional who served simultaneously in the United States Army Reserve for 30 years and has now retired. His district covers Ozone Park, Lindenwold, Howard Beach, Broad Channel, and the Rockaway Peninsula.
Come November, I would empower our law enforcement agencies to go out there and do their job and not put them or their families or their pensions at risk for doing their jobs. We need drastic change in Albany so that we have a say in this matter, and they realize people of New York State will hold them accountable.
The Sullivan family has a legacy of service. Tom served for 30 years protecting and defending the rights of others. Come this November, he has earned your support. This advertisement's paid for by the Friends of Tom Sullivan.
Tom's a good guy.
Tom's a great dude, bro. We got him. We just had Tom LaPola on too. We'll have some more politicians leading up into the November election. Bring you out. But before we end, let's just hear from the swagger man himself. It's one of my favorite videos.
I like to admit it, but I know you get on your knees and pray every night. Thank God Eric is the mayor of our city. You know that? You're able to ride your little bike safely through our city. No one is coming at you. You know, you're able to hang out in the restaurant. You know, you're able to enjoy your little restaurants. You're able to, I made your career. There's been so many first page stories from me. You are so excited about covering me.
He made this podcast too.
4 more years.
You are so excited.
4
Come
more
with me. You don't know what to do. You know?
Thank you, Eric.
Okay.
Thank you.
Party all the
There's
time.
a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it.
You know that?
All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.